Demonssouls, the progenitor of the Soulsborne series, but certainly not for challenge runs. At least for me anyways. Yeah, you get it by now. I go over the subject in the video and talk about what they're usually for. But now, we'll explain that I will not be using the subject in its intended form. Just replace subject with shield, and everything else with, can you beat Demonssouls with only shields? So this topic has already been done in pretty much all of the other games, but no highly edited version exists for this one, so we'll be doing that today. The one rule is simple really, we can only use a shield. I'm sure there's no issues that will come up in this run. Other than that, everything is fair game. Let's begin. We start with this absolutely beautiful creature gracing our eyes, and I named him Hercules out of respect for RE4 Remake, and I was going to go with the knight, but the shield a soldier starts with does more damage. That was what I was told by chat, but looking back they were wrong. By a whole 10 points. But I guess that's what I get for not doing my own research. Ignoring that rather odd sentence, we begin the game and the damage isn't too bad, I suppose. We can work with this for now as we attempt our first boss of the game, the Vanguard Demon. We die almost immediately and we're sent to the Spirit Realm where we can begin every playthrough with the obligatory run through Boletaria. We start by avoiding all the dregs and sneak past all these torch-wielding bozos and grab the Cling Ring for some extra health in soul form. We then use the most underrated mechanic in any of the Soulsborne games and meet Ostrava. My plan here was to get him killed. Maybe I should have thought about pushing him down, but whatever. The reason for this was because I thought he might drop the rune shield, but unfortunately he doesn't. It would have been a nice upgrade to our damage, but neither it or him are necessary for this run. We sprint all the way down the rolling ball bridge and past the dragon bridge, release the boss door, and I want to talk about these little slimes, also known as hoplites. It seems like the wikis conflict over whether or not the hoplite shield can even drop from these guys, or if it's an exclusive reward for the deluxe version of Demonssouls. At this point I don't even know if it exists, as we take on the first required boss of the run, the Phalanx Demon. As you may know, the Phalanx itself is harmless and can't do anything. The danger lies in the numerous hoplites that surround it. And as you can see, the damage is only barely enough. I'll just level with you all. I know some people want me to put more of the boss fights in my videos, but this fight, like many in Demonssouls, are very boring, and this boss particularly could qualify as the world's longest game of Ring Around the Rosie, as my strategy was just to hit and run to avoid the throwing spears. I got bored at one point and started trying to actually target specific hoplites, and this got a bit hectic as I almost die at one point, and I almost run out of all my healing. However, I did learn something about this fight. The first is that the little hoplites can actually heal. I knew the main Phalanx could, but if the little ones reattach to the big boy, they heal up, which means my hit and run strategy wasn't the greatest if I left them with low HP. The second thing I discovered after the run was reading on the wiki was that the hoplites actually respawn. Apparently this happens every 2 minutes and only a small group comes back at a time. This was probably why the fight felt longer than it should have. If you're curious, it was around 20 minutes from start to finish. Either way, we finish the fight and we can finally start the real Demonssouls. Back in the Nexus, we progress the plot by skipping over the story and accepting the quest, and we can finally touch the best girl's demon, and I'll just go over leveling quickly enough. Shield scale a little bit, but never anything better than D in most cases, so the strategy here is leveling up just enough to use whatever shield I need and putting the rest into Vitality and Endurance. Anyways, we head out on our first excursion into the Shrine of Storms, and after getting wrecked by skeletons, we head up and roll off this little ledge and skip the entirety of the area. Well, not yet, just to pick up our first big piece of equipment, the Regenerator's Ring, which, as the name implies, regenerates health. But we're not done yet, because after taking the plunge to reset the area, I run back through the normal way, past the Vanguard's twin, and we pick up the next major piece of equipment, the adjudicator shield. But make no mistake, this shield is not for doing damage, but healing it rather. So combine that in our offhand with the ring we picked up, and we have a really good setup for maximizing our HP, which is nice when we have to go through long and focus-intensive fights. Speaking of which, up next is my favorite boss in the game, the adjudicator. Yeah, if you liked the idea of a long and drawn-out fight from Phalanx, you're gonna love the sequel. The problem here isn't that he's tough or anything, it's just how mind-numbingly boring this fight is. He almost has no chance at hitting us, and when he does, we can heal with our setup well before he has a chance to take us to 0. The same problem applies to us, however, as we can only truly damage the bird on his head. This means we have to attack this weak spot, and after a while, he will fall over, allowing us to get some damage in. Emphasis on some. This fight is long enough, so in the meantime, let me just get something off my chest, and let you all know that I really do hate that the remake absolutely butchered the design of this boss. In the original, he was this weird, ominous, bright gold monster with eerie sounds and OST to boot. I loved his design in the original, so it was awful how they massacred my boy. Anyways, we eventually take him down, and while the fight was long, I don't think it eclipsed the Phalanx fight, so there's some progress. We return to the Nexus, buy the heater shield for some extra damage, and level up, and it's on to the Stonefang tunnels. We start playing with some dogs, and while my back was turned, I got a fireball to the back, and then a pickaxe to the face. After I recuperated, I made my way past the usual doors, started up the elevator, tried to skip past the lava pool, got burnt to a crisp, and I just made my way until I realized that this bridge is right above where I would need to go. Like I could just jump down there and be fine. And people complain about Dark Souls 2. Anyways, we cool the lava and make our way down the elevator to fight the armor spider. There really isn't much to say here that hasn't been said about the previous bosses, really. It's the usual run up the tunnel, smack the spider, after the slam attack that is, and run away when it starts spewing oil. It doesn't take nearly as long as the previous fights, but thankfully this is Demonssouls where most of the bosses are easy. I guess I wanted to go to the Tower of Latria next, and after getting some unchristian-like treatment from a mind flayer, we round up the keys and leave the prison and dodge an entire triple volley of arrows. After that, we kill the seemingly innocent man, but don't worry, he deserves it, as he doesn't fit my narrative and it's time for the Fool's Idol. Again, another gimmick boss here, so it's just avoid the clones and find the real one. For those who don't know, it's the one that shoots the largest magic. Enough minutes go by and after the boss fight we ascend to the upper area and I decide to go back to Boletaria and make the run past the next dragon bridge that Blue Point blatantly stole from Software, and I take the tunnel underneath. After playing with a group of puppies, I make my way to the boss, the Tower Knight. Bad OST aside, it's easy as we take care of the archers, and it's just the most riveting event of ankle biting you've ever seen. Nowhere near as long as the other fights we've had thus far, but I've always enjoyed hitting this guy in the head. Although after his health was gone, he decided he hadn't had enough, then promptly changed his mind and died. Whatever. The reason I came here early was to try and get the tower shield for some extra damage, but we couldn't get it because we didn't have the key to get into the jail, but that was probably for the best as you'll see in a bit. We can't continue forward without an Archdemon soul, so let's head back to the Shrine of Storms where we meet everyone's favorite lovable weasel, and after taking the kick, we leave Urban Meyer for himself, and unlock the best dealer in the game. Alright, so let's just fast forward to the part where I get to the next fight, the Old Hero. Yeah, this fight took a while, and it was the first fight where both that was true and he had a realistic shot at killing me. At least, that's without one piece of equipment, the Thief's Ring. Because the Old Hero is blind, he can only sense us with sound, but with this ring, we might as well be wearing the one ring to rule them all as we follow the loop of smacking him, pissing him off, and then running away. He'll swing wildly, but as long as you're far away enough, he'll be like a deadbeat dad and forget you ever existed. I think I took 1 minute to check something in real life. Completely fine, so yeah, we kill him with relative ease after I got bored, and started applying more pressure. That was the end of Stream 1, and I know the real difficulty of the run hadn't even begun yet. Stream 2 had a different trajectory, as for once I actually did a little bit of research and found there was actually a decent enough shield to use. We just have to go back to 1-2, and on this section of the bridge we can find the spiked shield. This is important as it's the only shield that does piercing damage instead of blunt, so most bosses shouldn't resist our attacks as much. We upgrade it to a respectable place, and you can already see the damage is already better both on paper and in actuality. Oh yeah, we're going through the Valley of Defilement next. I actually got through this area without a hitch for once, and next up, it's Leechmonger time. Again, there were no hiccups or anything, as Leechmonger didn't really try to cover me in leeches too much, or try to heal, and as you can see, this one didn't take so long. I leave the swamp for later as we head back to Latria for the best marathon in the game. This area is rather boring, sad to say, as we release the Heart of Mensis, and it's time for one of the 3 horsemen of boss fights in this game, the Man-Eaters. By itself, this isn't a hard fight. They don't do a ton of damage, and if I'm really desperate, I can run and let my health regeneration take over. But the fact that there's two of them, and the area we're fighting on is rather narrow, the chance we can get knocked off is a real threat. The basic strategy here, after the second one shows up, was dodge both of them and hope one flew off the bridge so I had some alone time with just one and get some damage in. And if one of them used their buff, I had plenty of time to get in hits. I almost fall off at one point, but I'm able to recover, and after a lot of patience I take them down. First try no less. So that's always a plus. And since we're here, we may as well grab ourselves an Demonssouls, but I wanted to make things interesting, so I actually went online and tried to get a real-life invader as our boss fight. And we actually did get someone to invade. However, this narrow staircase is an absolute slog to fight these black phantom mind flayers in, and after finally getting to the top, the guy actually left right before I was about to enter the fight. So that was lame. And I didn't want to wait so long, so I took on the NPC. Lame, but yeah, this was a fight. We don't hit particularly hard, but dodging his homing magic and healing when he puts pressure on us usually proves effective. Although I learned that he has Soul Ray. Can't say I've ever seen that before. First Archdemon Souls ours, but I wasn't done yet, so I put my sign down and got summoned as the boss. Unfortunately, the damage of the shield combined with latency and the host healing, and we really had no chance, but I'll take getting the host down to half health. So after some quick upgrades, we enter the second part of Stonefang Tunnel and descend down this giant hole, and it's time for the other hardest boss in the game, the Flame Lurker. This fiery demon is aggressive, at least by this game's standards, but the shield damage isn't the worst. As with every boss, it's about patience and knowing when to heal. I found that his jump attack was a good window to punish, and you can stagger him with a couple of hits before he tries to do anything. Him hopping side to side was also really useful as well, as even though he gets more aggressive and had me on the rope several times, we're able to defeat him on our first attempt. I'm sensing a theme in this run. Alright, so now we're gonna go meet the Filthy Man to get some upgrade materials, and upgrade the shield again, and it's everyone's favorite stealth section, Metal Gear Souls. Yeah, not much to say about this. I mean, we get punched, but we shrug it off, and it doesn't make sense that Dragon God just doesn't move literally anywhere else that isn't in front of two giant ballistas. Is he an idiot? Just a quick love tap on the chin and Archdemon Soul 2 is obtained. At this point, I wanted to go back to Lotria to go to the swamp because in the remake they added the Sodden Ring, which acts similar to the Rusted Iron Ring from Dark Souls 1. Or in shorter terms, we are preparing for the start of Michael Zaki's fetish for poison swamps. Unfortunately, I thought you needed pure white tendency, but you actually needed pure black. Yeah, I'm too lazy to do the whole death stuff, so onwards to Defilement Part 2. Honestly, I feel bad during these sections because there really isn't much going on. I'm mostly just running from point A to B without interacting with other enemies. Anyways, I sneak past them all and I make this daring decision to not unlock the shortcut and instead go straight to the next boss, Dirty Colossus. Another recurring theme here is that there isn't too much to say. Just dodge the flies, burn yourself if you do get hit by it, otherwise this boss is a cakewalk. Also fun fact, but that white sack looking thing on top is its face. Kinda looks like Oogie Boogie to me, but whatever, we take him down and it's time for the end of this area. I actually thought this would be an issue with Garl Vinland absolutely destroying us, but we actually do good damage to this simp and he bonks off walls as well. Eventually I closed the gap so he couldn't heal, and this idiot was trying to parry me, which if you didn't know, you can't do that to shield attacks. His repost is more than likely a one-shot, so the shield actually came in clutch for this. Not bad. Anyways, Estrella is devastated that she loses her top donator, and we close her OnlyFans account for good. 2 major souls left. And we're about to get another out of the way. I'm sure many of you were already thinking about this fight, but yeah, there's no sugarcoating it here. We can't beat the Storm King with a shield. No shields have any range attack, and I couldn't even make a joke that it counts if we put the Storm Ruler in the shield slot, because we can't even use it properly like that, so yeah, I just opted for the intended strategy. There wasn't really any compromise here that I thought was interesting or unique anyways, so please feel free to count this as a failed run. For the rest of us, we take him down with this weirdly shaped shield and it's time for the last section of the game, Boletaria. Just like the rest of the run, it just involves running through this entire section, avoiding traps and vaulting over this ledge, and after the Bridge of Pain, it's time for the Penetrator Demon. Penetrator? I hardly know. Anyways, like every other fight in this game, it wasn't even that hard. Like, the damage is still okay, and it takes a couple of minutes, but the only real threat in this fight is the grab attack, but thankfully we never became a human shish kebab, so we just circle around, and eventually we open up the last part of the game. You know the deal. Run past enemies, a dragon, and a Strava, and wait on this very long elevator ride that doesn't have any actual catchy music, and it's time for the last difficult boss fight in this run, False King Allant. The main strategy here was just to be good, and while the damage could be worse, it takes some time since Allant really loved the AoE in this fight. Not an issue since it takes forever to charge up and we can get out of range easily, but I almost died at some points and Allant even managed to land his grab attack which drains your level by 1. Only a loss of a bit of vitality, but we'll manage. I'm not gonna take the chance right now. Probably gonna do it again. Nope, he is not. Go ahead and get our grass in. Really hoping I have enough time here, or enough space. Very little. Alright, he's gonna do that again. That's an interesting strategy, Allant. Look at that. Oh, damn. Literally at the precipice. Boom. And would you look at that? That's it. With all of our fortitude left, we deliver the final blow, and the real Demonssouls ends here. We take the plunge with the maiden and make our way to the old one, where we climb inside and slap around this weird slug frog thing for a bit. After killing it, we leave and allow the old one to go back to sleep, ending the game, but proving that, unfortunately no, you cannot beat Demonssouls with just a shield. Alright, so that was fun enough. Not the most challenging in the world, but with the damage I was doing, the fact I got every boss done first try was rather surprising, so give me some credit there. I wish there was maybe some more variety to the usable shields, but this is Demonssouls, so I can't expect too much from it. I wanted to do this run because I hadn't seen any edited videos about this, but shout out to Lobos Jr. and his run for helping me through some of the parts here. I wouldn't expect this run in the other games since they've kind of been well covered at this point, but you never know. Anyways, let me know how I did and if you liked it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me in the future. I'm MrMetagross. Goodbye.